The galaxy was vast and home to many different species, some friendly and some hostile. Humans had only recently entered this galaxy's politics, and most species didn't take them seriously. The Calthrax Dominion, one of the largest and oldest powers, saw humans as weak and unimportant. They were a proud, brutal species, ruled by strength and intimidation. Many said the Calthrax respected no one but themselves. Elena Silva was a young human diplomat sent to the neutral planet Arcadia to join peace talks. She was chosen for her calm and intelligent nature. Her role was to show other species that humans could be allies worth having. She didn't expect much trouble, knowing Earth had taken extra precautions to protect her, and Arcadia was known as a peaceful, neutral place. The talks began smoothly, and Elena felt hopeful. But one night, everything changed. Without warning, a group of Calthrax soldiers burst into her quarters. They grabbed Elena, ignoring her diplomatic status and any rules or agreements. Before she could even understand what was happening, they threw a bag over her head and dragged her to their ship. They were taking her to the Calthrax Dominion, away from Arcadia and far from Earth's reach. When she arrived, Elena found herself in a dark, cold cell. Her heart pounded with fear, but she tried to stay calm, reminding herself that she was a diplomat. Surely, the Calthrax wouldn't harm her. They would respect her status. But the Calthrax had no intention of showing respect or mercy. They didn't see Elena as an envoy or even as a person. To them, she was just a human, and they had no reason to hold back. The Calthrax interrogators began their brutal questioning. They asked her about Earth's defenses, its leaders, and even its weaknesses, but she didn't have much information to offer. She wasn't a spy or a soldier. She was just a diplomat. The Calthrax didn't care. Day after day, they tortured her, testing how much pain she could endure. They treated her as a science experiment, a curiosity to push and break. They laughed as they hurt her, amused by her screams, and by what they saw as human fragility. After several grueling days, they finally let her go. Elena was returned to Arcadia, bruised, weak, and terrified. She was barely able to walk, her mind haunted by what she had endured. Her return to Earth became a secretive but intense moment for her government. The evidence of her injuries was clear. There were scars on her body, broken bones that hadn't healed, and eyes that no longer sparkled with confidence. She was alive, but she was changed. Elena's story spread quickly among Earth's leaders. They listened to her quiet, broken voice as she recounted what happened, and they saw the pain in her eyes. The news of her torture spread among the top officials of Earth's Defense Council, and anger simmered under the surface. But Earth had learned the importance of patience and careful planning in this galaxy. They knew they couldn't openly declare war on the Calthrax Dominion, a powerful empire with a brutal military. Instead, Earth issued a formal protest, carefully worded to avoid open conflict. They knew the Calthrax would ignore it, but the protest was just a cover, a mask to hide their true intentions. Behind closed doors, Earth's leaders were already meeting to discuss a secretive and powerful response. The Defense Council activated a hidden project, one they had kept secret for years. This was Project Ghost Blade, a program designed to create elite soldiers that no one knew existed. These super soldiers, called the Spectres, were the best humanity had to offer, enhanced with advanced technology, trained in combat, and honed for missions that required stealth and precision. They were Earth's hidden blade, ready to strike when no one expected it. The Council agreed unanimously. This was the time to send the Spectres into action. Humanity's message to the Calthrax would be clear. Earth might seem peaceful, but it would not allow its people to be harmed without consequences. The incident with Elena had left a mark on everyone who heard her story. But while most of Earth was unaware of the details, the leaders at Earth's Defense Council were fully informed. They had seen the scars, read her medical reports, and understood that the Calthrax Dominion didn't care about human rights or any form of respect. It was clear that they believed humans were easy targets, creatures too weak to stand up to a powerful empire. But Earth's leaders knew they couldn't allow this belief to continue. If they stayed silent and did nothing, other species might think they could hurt humans with no consequences. Yet, open war with the Calthrax Dominion was impossible. The Calthrax had advanced weapons, a vast fleet, and influence over many worlds. A full-scale war would risk Earth's survival. Instead, they needed to send a quieter, sharper message, a message that the Calthrax would feel but wouldn't trace back to Earth so easily. The solution was a program Earth had kept hidden for years. Project Ghostblade. The Defense Council had started Project Ghostblade long ago. In secret, it was created as a last resort, a hidden weapon only to be used in the most desperate situations. The Ghostblades, also called the Spectres, were a group of elite soldiers trained and enhanced beyond the limits of normal humans. Only the highest-ranking officials knew they existed. Even within the military, only whispers and rumors hinted at their presence. The Spectres weren't just soldiers. They were the result of Earth's most advanced technology and years of specialized training. Each Spectre had undergone a process that few could endure. Their bodies were enhanced with cybernetics, giving them increased strength, speed, and stamina. They had neural implants that allowed them to think faster and react quicker than any normal human. Nanotechnology coursed through their veins, ready to repair injuries instantly or boost their endurance in critical moments. Their armor was lightweight yet incredibly strong, fitted with stealth technology that allowed them to disappear from sight and avoid enemy scanners. They were shadows, moving unseen and striking with deadly precision. Leading the Spectres was Commander Alec Rain, a soldier known for his sharp mind and calm demeanor. Alec had led countless missions in Earth's outer territories. But this mission would be different. It wasn't just about strategy or survival. It was personal. Like everyone in the Defense Council, he had heard Elena's story and seen the suffering she had endured. Alec understood that this mission was about sending a clear message, not just to the Calthrax, but to the entire galaxy. After receiving orders, Alec gathered his team in a secure room, hidden from even the highest security networks. His team members were already familiar with the mission's objective, but listened closely as he briefed them. Their task was to infiltrate the Calthrax Dominion's capital, locate the facility where Elena had been held, and leave behind a lasting message. They wouldn't start a war or kill innocents. Instead, they would make sure the Calthrax elite knew they had crossed a line. Humanity might be small, but it was not weak. The journey to the Calthrax capital would take time, and the Spectres prepared every detail of their plan. They studied Calthrax culture, learned the Dominion's military protocols, and practiced their tactics for silent infiltration. Their stealth ship was equipped with advanced cloaking technology, making it invisible to almost any detection system. The ship would take them close to the Calthrax capital without raising an alarm, allowing them to slip into the city like shadows. As they traveled, the Spectres kept to themselves, silent and focused. Each one carried personal thoughts about the mission. Some thought of friends or family back on Earth, hoping that their actions would keep humanity safe. Others thought of Elena, imagining the fear and pain she had endured in that dark cell. They knew this wasn't just a mission, it was a statement. Humanity was tired of being underestimated and pushed around by larger, older empires. As they neared their destination, Alec spoke to his team one last time. "We aren't here to start a war," he reminded them. "But we're here to make sure the Calthrax know they crossed a line. We're going to show them that humanity isn't weak, and that when we strike hard." With that, the Spectres steeled themselves, ready for what lay ahead. They would move as ghosts in the night, unseen and unstoppable. And when they left, the Calthrax would remember their message. The Spectres, Earth's secret super soldiers, arrived at the Calthrax Dominion's capital under the cover of darkness. Their stealth ship glided silently through the atmosphere, invisible to even the Dominion's most advanced scanners. Commander Alec Rain and his team prepared themselves, reviewing their objectives one last time. They had trained for years for a mission like this, but there was no room for mistakes. Their mission wasn't just about revenge. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity could protect its own. As the Spectres prepared to disembark, they activated their advanced cloaking devices, which would make them blend into their surroundings, like shadows fading into darkness. Their gear was equipped for this type of mission. Lightweight yet incredibly durable, equipped with night vision goggles, energy weapons, and silent communication devices. Alec took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the mission, then gave the signal. The team moved out, disappearing into the night. The Calthrax capital was an imposing city, with tall, dark buildings that seemed to stretch endlessly toward the sky. It was heavily guarded, with Calthrax soldiers patrolling every street and entrance. But the Spectres knew the layout well. They had studied every detail before arriving. They knew where the guards would be, how the shifts rotated, and where the security cameras were placed. Using this knowledge, they slipped past every guard and avoided every camera, moving like whispers in the wind. Their primary target was the Calthrax Intelligence Directorate, the massive building where Alina had been taken and tortured. This was the heart of the Dominion's intelligence operations, and the place where many decisions about Earth and other species were made. The Spectre's objective was clear: enter the building, retrieve any valuable information, and leave behind a warning the Calthrax would never forget. As they approached the building, Alec motioned to his team to spread out. They moved swiftly, each Spectre taking a position around the building to monitor the guards and security systems. Alec scanned the area, his neural implants feeding him real-time data about guard movements and entry points. He signaled two Spectres, Lyra and Cade, to disable the security cameras while the others positioned themselves near the entrances. Within seconds, Lyra and Cade had tapped into the system, feeding the cameras a looped feed to make it seem like nothing was happening. With the security down, the team moved inside. The interior was cold and dark, with metallic walls and narrow hallways. Alec led the way, moving silently, his senses sharp and focused. The team kept close, communicating through their neural links to avoid making any sound. They knew the Calthrax soldiers were dangerous, but they also knew that their technology and training gave them an edge. As they moved deeper into the building, they found a control room filled with computers and data servers. This was exactly what they were looking for: valuable information that could give Earth insight into the Calthrax Dominion's operations and plans. One of the Spectres, Sarah, quickly plugged into the system, downloading files and gathering intelligence. The files revealed disturbing details. The Calthrax had plans to capture and experiment on humans and other species, considering it a necessary study to understand alien limits and weaknesses. The more they read, the angrier the Spectres became. The Calthrax didn't just see humans as weak. They saw them as objects, creatures to be studied and discarded. This wasn't just about Alina anymore. It was about stopping the Calthrax from doing this to anyone else. With the data collected, Alec signaled his team to move toward their final objective, sending a message. They needed to leave something behind, a warning that would make the Calthrax think twice before targeting humans again. Alec planted a small device on one of the main pillars in the room, a digital virus that would spread through the entire building's systems. The virus would disable their security, scramble their databases, and send a single message on every screen: Earth remembers. As they finished, an alarm sounded. Somehow, the Calthrax had noticed the intrusion. Alec quickly signaled his team to exit, and they moved with precision, following the route they had memorized. Calthrax soldiers began filling the hallways, but the Spectres were ready. Using their cloaking devices and combat skills, they took down any soldier who crossed their path, moving swiftly and silently. They reached the exit just as the virus activated. Lights flickered, screens glitched, and every device in the building displayed those two haunting words: Earth remembers. Panic spread through the Calthrax soldiers as they watched the message appear, unable to stop it. The Spectres slipped back into the night, unseen and untouched. Their mission was complete. They had delivered Earth's message. Humanity would not be toyed with, and anyone who tried would pay the price. After planting their message and disabling the Calthrax Intelligence Directorate, the Spectres began their silent escape. But as they moved toward their extraction point, alarms blared across the Calthrax capital. The entire city was now on high alert, with messages echoing through speakers, calling all Calthrax forces to action. The Spectres knew they had to act fast. They were skilled in stealth and combat, but even they couldn't face an entire army. Commander Alec Rain led his team through narrow alleys and side routes, avoiding patrols wherever possible. The Calthrax were furious, and their forces poured into the streets, searching for any sign of the intruders. Calthrax soldiers wore heavy armor, and their red, glowing visors scanned the surroundings. They moved in groups, weapons ready, determined to capture whoever had dared to break into one of their most secure buildings. Just as the Spectres thought they were in the clear, they ran into a group of Calthrax elites, high-ranking soldiers known for their ruthless training and skill. These elites were bigger and stronger than ordinary soldiers, and they quickly spotted the Spectres. Humans, one of the Calthrax soldiers hissed, raising his weapon. The rest of the elite squad followed, forming a wall of muscle and armor. Alec didn't hesitate. "Engage," he ordered, and the Spectres sprang into action. The first shots were fired, lighting up the alley with flashes of blue and red. The Spectres' weapons were quieter and more precise, but the Calthrax elites had sheer force on their side. One of the Calthrax charged forward, his heavy armor absorbing shots as he swung a massive blade toward Alec. Alec dodged, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to move faster than the Calthrax could see. He countered with a quick shot to the Calthrax's knee, causing the soldier to stumble, but the Calthrax pushed on, refusing to go down. Meanwhile, Lyra, one of the Spectres, engaged two Calthrax elites at once. She moved like a shadow, her cloaking device flickering as she dodged their attacks and fired back. Her shots found weak spots in their armor, but even then, the Calthrax fought back, snarling and swinging their weapons with deadly force. Lyra kept her focus, waiting for openings and striking with precision. Cade, another Spectre, used his neural implant to hack into a nearby system, temporarily shutting off streetlights and plunging the area into darkness. The Spectre's suits had built-in night vision, but the Calthrax were momentarily blinded, giving the Spectres a crucial advantage. The fight was intense, with the narrow alley forcing them into close combat. Alec and his team used every tactic they knew, working together seamlessly to take down the Calthrax elites. One by one, the Calthrax soldiers fell, each attack carefully calculated. But the Spectres weren't untouched. One of them, Sarah, took a hit to her shoulder, the energy blast searing through her armor. She grit her teeth, ignoring the pain as she continued to fight. As the last Calthrax elite fell, the Spectres took a moment to regroup. They knew more soldiers would be arriving soon. Alec quickly checked on his team, assessing their injuries. Sarah's wound was serious, but she assured him she could keep moving. "We don't have much time," Alec said. "They know we're here, and they'll be coming with more forces. Let's move." The Spectres continued their escape, but now every street seemed filled with Calthrax soldiers. Alec led his team through a series of underground tunnels, hoping to avoid the main forces. The tunnels were damp and dark, and the sound of distant footsteps echoed through the stone corridors. The Calthrax were searching everywhere, determined to catch the intruders. As they moved, Alec's neural implant picked up a signal, an incoming communication from their extraction ship. "Commander, this is Ghost One. We're positioned just outside the capital, but the Calthrax have activated planetary defenses. We're unable to get any closer without being detected." Alec thought quickly. They couldn't stay in the city much longer. If they were spotted, they would be overwhelmed. "Understood, Ghost One. Prepare for emergency extraction. We'll reach a clearing outside the city and signal you." He turned to his team. We'll need to break through the perimeter guards to reach the extraction point. Once we're clear, we signal the ship and get out fast." The Spectres nodded, ready for the final stretch. Moving as a single unit, they advanced toward the edge of the city. They used every trick they knew: silent movements, precise shots, and careful coordination to break through the lines of Calthrax guards. Each Spectre moved with skill and determination, knowing that failure was not an option. As they reached the outskirts of the city, Alex signaled the ship. Within moments, the Spectres saw their extraction ship descending, cloaked and ready. They boarded quickly, each one breathing a sigh of relief as they left the Calthrax capital behind. Their mission wasn't just a success, it was a message. The Calthrax had learned that humanity was far from weak, and Earth's hidden strength was something they would not forget. Back on Earth, news of the Spectre's mission success spread quickly among the Defense Council and other top officials. The data they had retrieved from the Calthrax Intelligence Directorate contained valuable information about the Dominion's plans and weaknesses. But more importantly, Earth had sent a clear message: humanity was not to be taken lightly. The Defense Council felt a rare sense of satisfaction. They had struck back against an empire that had mocked and brutalized one of their own. However, Earth's leaders knew this victory came with a price. The Calthrax Dominion was known for its brutal responses, and they would surely be preparing to retaliate. The Council instructed Earth's military forces to be on high alert, expecting that the Calthrax would soon make a move. For the next several days, tension filled the air on Earth and its colonies. Ships patrolled the borders, and soldiers were prepared for anything. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the Calthrax Dominion was indeed in chaos. The Spectre's message, "Earth remembers," still flashed through their intelligence networks, haunting the Calthrax elite. The Dominion's leaders were outraged and humiliated. To them, humanity was a new and small species, not worth their attention. And now they had been attacked in their own capital, their security breached. The Dominion's supreme commander, Lord Dralic, was furious. He called an emergency meeting with his generals and strategists, slamming his fist on the table as he spoke. "These humans think they can defy us," he growled. "They dare to enter our city, harm our people, and leave their message in our very heart." The Calthrax generals nodded, equally angry. They had always believed in their superiority, and had never expected such defiance from a young species. "We must teach them a lesson." "Supreme Commander," one general suggested, "we should strike Earth's colonies, make them understand that no one disrespects the Dominion." Dralic agreed, his eyes filled with anger. "Yes, they will learn their place," he replied. "Prepare our fleet. We will show these humans what true power looks like." Within days, a Calthrax fleet was on its way to Earth's outer colonies. Earth's intelligence networks quickly detected unusual activity from the Dominion, confirming that the Calthrax were indeed preparing a strike. The Defense Council knew they had to prepare for the worst. Earth's forces were strong, but they couldn't match the sheer size of the Calthrax military. Yet they couldn't let fear rule their response. They had already shown strength once, and they had to be ready to defend it. The Spectres were immediately called back to duty, with Commander Alec Rain once again leading the preparations. His team knew they were up against difficult odds, but none of them hesitated. They had seen the Calthrax in action, and they knew what to expect. "Our colonies will be their first target," Alec said, briefing his team. "The Calthrax think they can intimidate us by attacking our people, but we're not just going to sit back and defend. We're going to make this costly for them." The Spectres worked closely with Earth's military to prepare defenses around the targeted colonies. Their strategy was simple but effective. Use advanced technology and tactics to delay the Calthrax forces, weakening them and drawing them into difficult battles. The Spectres positioned themselves on a small distant colony called Arcadia Station, one of the likely first targets. When the Calthrax fleet arrived, they expected an easy victory, thinking the humans would be no match for them. But as soon as they entered Arcadia's airspace, the Spectres struck. Using advanced cloaking devices, the Spectres took down several Calfrax ships before they even realized they were under attack. Confusion spread among the Calfrax ranks, who couldn't understand how such a small colony was fighting back with such precision. The Spectres didn't stop there. They set traps around the colony, using everything from EMP mines to remotely activated drones. Every time the Calfrax thought they were advancing, they faced new obstacles, losing more soldiers and ships. Commander Alec Rain led the strikes, coordinating with his team to target Calfrax officers and disrupt their plans. The Calfrax soldiers, so confident when they arrived, were now struggling. Their pride and anger drove them to keep fighting, but each loss made them weaker. As the battle continued, the Calfrax commanders grew more desperate, realizing that this small human colony was not as defenseless as they had assumed. Despite their success, Alec and his team knew they couldn't hold Arcadia Station forever. They were only a small group against a massive army. But their goal wasn't to win this single battle. It was to prove a point, to make the Calfrax understand that humanity was ready to fight back. After hours of intense fighting, the Spectres received orders from Earth's command. The Calfrax fleet had suffered heavy losses, and their morale was broken. Earth's leaders decided it was time for the Spectres to pull back. They had achieved their goal. The Calfrax would return to their empire with a message burned into their minds. Humanity would not be bullied, and any attempt to harm them would come at a high cost. As the Spectres evacuated Arcadia Station, Alec took one last look at the battlefield, satisfied. They had made a stand, and humanity's strength had been proven once more. The Calfrax now knew that Earth was not a target to be taken lightly. The Calfrax fleet limped back to their home territory, battered and humiliated. The commanders were shocked by what they had encountered on the human colony of Arcadia Station. They had expected an easy victory, a quick reminder to Earth of who held the true power. Instead, they had faced advanced tactics, powerful weaponry, and the relentless skill of the Spectres. Their losses were heavy, and their morale was low. Back on Earth, the Defense Council and military leaders gathered to review the mission's success. Earth's strategy had worked better than they had hoped. The Calfrax were now cautious, forced to rethink their view of humans as weak. However, the Council knew the danger wasn't over. They could see that the Calfrax, though wounded, would be back, and likely with greater force. They needed to prepare for a final strike if Earth was to avoid endless battles. This time, the Defense Council and Commander Alec Rain came up with a plan that could put an end to the conflict for good. They would set a trap, a bold, risky move that would require every Spectre and every available soldier on Earth's outer defenses. But if it worked, it would force the Calfrax to respect Earth's power. The Council agreed to move forward, fully aware of the risk. The plan was simple but dangerous. They would create a false weak point, making it appear as though one of Earth's colonies was left vulnerable. This colony, called Borealis, was a mid-sized settlement with some valuable resources, but it was not one of the main strongholds. They planted rumors and arranged for a few leaks through their intelligence network, ensuring the Calfrax would believe Borealis was barely defended. Meanwhile, Commander Alec Rain and his team of Spectres prepared to deploy to Borealis. The colony was rigged with traps and defensive systems, all hidden from outside view. Underground bunkers were filled with heavy artillery, and defense drones were stationed just outside the colony's perimeter, ready to strike from above. Borealis was a fortress in disguise, designed to appear vulnerable but ready to unleash devastating force when the time came. Days passed, and the tension grew. The citizens of Borealis were quietly evacuated, with only a few military personnel left behind to operate the systems. The Spectres took their positions, hiding in strategic locations throughout the colony. Alec and his team knew that, as soon as the Calfrax fleet arrived, they would be in the center of a massive battle. But they also knew this was Earth's best chance to send a final message to the Calfrax Dominion. At last, The Calthrax fleet appeared on Borealis's radar, detected by hidden sensors scattered across the planet. Just as the Defense Council had predicted, the Calthrax couldn't resist the opportunity to strike what they believed to be an easy target. Their fleet was massive, larger than any force Earth had seen before. This time, they had brought their top generals and elite soldiers, intending to crush Borealis and show the humans the price of defiance. As the Calthrax approached, they sent a message to the colony, demanding immediate surrender. The message was filled with threats and arrogant boasts, promising destruction if the humans dared to resist. Alec and his team ignored the message. They knew the time to answer was coming soon. The Calthrax ships descended toward Borealis, preparing for an invasion. As they landed, the specters waited, hidden and silent. Alec gave his team a final nod, a signal that the time had come. Then, as the Calthrax forces began to unload and move into the colony, Alec activated the traps. Suddenly, the quiet colony erupted in chaos. Explosions tore through the Calthrax landing forces, scattering soldiers and sending shockwaves across the ground. Defense drones, hidden until now, took flight, raining energy blasts down on the Calthrax troops. Automated turrets emerged from the ground, firing at the invaders with deadly accuracy. The Calthrax, unprepared for such an intense assault, were thrown into disarray. They had expected an easy fight, but now they found themselves trapped in a deadly maze of explosions, drones, and gunfire. The specters emerged from their positions, moving swiftly and striking with precision. They took down Calthrax soldiers one by one, hitting weak points in their armor and using the colony's defenses to their advantage. Commander Alec Rain led his team through the chaos, coordinating attacks and keeping his team in formation. The Calthrax soldiers were confused and desperate, trying to regroup but finding themselves overwhelmed by the relentless strikes. Each time they tried to push forward, they faced another wave of defenses or a new ambush by the specters. The Calthrax generals, watching from orbit, realized they had been tricked. Borealis was not an easy target. It was a carefully prepared trap. They tried to pull their troops back, but by then it was too late. The Calthrax forces on the ground were too entangled in the colony's defenses, losing soldiers and ships with every passing minute. As the Calthrax fleet began retreating, Alec signaled the final phase of the operation. Earth's defensive fleet, hiding just outside the Calthrax's detection range, moved in, attacking the retreating ships and forcing the Dominion to withdraw in shame. The Calthrax would remember Borealis, not as a victory, but as a costly defeat. As the battle ended, Alec looked around at his team, proud of what they had accomplished. They had fought not just for Earth, but to end the conflict once and for all. And as the Calthrax retreated, Earth's leaders knew that humanity had earned its place among the stars, a force to be respected and, if needed, feared. The retreating Calthrax fleet was a satisfying sight for the Spectres and Earth's forces, but the fight wasn't over yet. As the Spectres regrouped on Borealis, Commander Alec Rain received an urgent message from Earth's Central Command. Commander Rain, we've detected a massive energy signature heading straight for Borealis. It's their flagship, their supreme warship. They're sending one last assault to destroy everything in their path. This is their final stand. Alec's jaw tightened. The Calthrax, though defeated, were desperate. They were not retreating entirely. Instead, they were risking everything to strike back and salvage their pride. And their flagship, a monstrous ship called the Doombringer, was legendary for its firepower and defenses. If it reached Borealis, the colony, and everyone in it, would be obliterated. The Defense Council advised Alec and his team to evacuate. They had accomplished their mission, after all, and Earth could risk no more casualties. But Alec felt differently. If we leave now, he told his team, we show the Calthrax that humanity will always retreat in the face of overwhelming power. This isn't just a battle. It's a message to the galaxy. The Spectres, worn and wounded from the previous fight, nodded in agreement. They had faced impossible odds before and knew they could make a difference. Alec and his team moved quickly, setting up every last bit of weaponry and defense that Borealis had left. They knew they had to be smart. This battle was going to be brutal. The Doombringer was soon visible in the sky, a massive shadow blocking out the sun. It hovered ominously above Borealis, preparing to unleash its first strike. Alec coordinated with Earth's remaining fleet, positioning them in strategic points to intercept the flagship's attacks. But the Doombringer was unlike any other Calthrax ship they had encountered. Its defenses deflected most of the fleet's firepower, and its retaliatory strikes were powerful enough to disable several Earth ships with single blasts. Alec quickly realized they couldn't defeat the Doombringer in a straightforward battle. They needed a new plan, one that would exploit the ship's weaknesses from the inside. Alec gathered the Spectres and briefed them on a daring, risky mission. They would infiltrate the Doombringer, plant explosives near its core, and detonate it from within. The Spectres suited up, ready for what could be their last mission. Earth's fleet provided cover, distracting the Doombringer just enough for Alec and his team to slip aboard in a stealth shuttle. They landed on the enemy ship, moving quickly and silently through its halls. The Calthrax crew was caught off guard, unprepared for intruders on their own vessel. The Spectres advanced, taking out guards and dodging patrols as they made their way toward the core of the ship. The Doombringer was vast, with corridors lined with heavy metal doors and defense systems that required the Spectres' full focus to navigate. But Alec and his team moved with the precision and discipline they were known for, each step bringing them closer to the heart of the ship. Finally, they reached the core chamber. The massive energy reactor pulsed with a dark red light, the heartbeat of the Doombringer. Alec directed his team to plant explosives around the core. Each Spectre placed their charges carefully, knowing that this mission depended on their accuracy. One wrong move, and the explosives wouldn't be powerful enough to disable the ship. As they set the final charges, alarms blared throughout the ship. The Calthrax knew they had intruders on board, and they were closing in fast. Alec signaled his team, "We need to move. Detonation in 5 minutes." The Spectres sprinted back toward their shuttle, engaging Calthrax soldiers along the way. The corridors turned into battlegrounds as the Spectres fought their way out, knowing time was running out. They moved as one, covering each other and pushing through every line of resistance. Just as they reached their shuttle, Alec gave the final command to detonate the explosives. The Doombringer shuddered as the core chamber erupted in flames, sending shockwaves through the ship. Alec and his team barely made it back into the shuttle, launching themselves away from the flagship just in time. Outside, Earth's fleet watched as the mighty Doombringer began to disintegrate. The Calthrax flagship, once a symbol of their empire's might, was now a burning wreck, drifting aimlessly in space. The explosion was visible across Borealis, a beacon of human resilience and victory. Alec and the Spectres returned to the surface, greeted by Earth's forces with cheers and relief. They had done it. They had not only defended Borealis, but had also taken down the Calthrax Dominion's most powerful weapon. Earth had proven that it would not back down, no matter the strength of its enemies. The battle at Borealis would be remembered across the galaxy. The Calthrax had learned that humans were far more than they had ever imagined, not just survivors but warriors who would defend their own to the last breath. Alec and his team had shown that humanity could stand against even the strongest empire. The Spectres returned to Earth as heroes, knowing that their actions had changed humanity's place in the galaxy. They had won more than just a battle, they had earned respect. And as long as humanity had people like the Spectres to defend it, they knew they would continue to thrive, strong and united among the stars.